Dear students, as I am discussing with you the poem Personal Helicon for Micheal Langley. So, we are discussing the summary of this poem that has been written by Seamus Heaney, a Nobel laureate in the field of English literature. As a child, the poet felt very much attracted towards wells and pumps, and the elderly people could not stop him from doing so, or that means from going to the wells and pumps with buckets and windlasses. So, in the poem, the poet described different kinds of wells. The first well he described was in a brickyard. So the first well the poet described was in a brickyard, and that very well has a rotted top. यानी उसका जो टॉप होता है वो खराब हो चुका था, जो लकड़ी का बना होता है ना ऊपर वाला हिस्सा उस वेल का, that has been rotted, or we can say decayed with the passage of time. He says that as a child he enjoyed the rich crash of the bucket as it fell quickly and suddenly down into the well at the end of a rope. So, dear students, the first well the poet talked about was very much deep. We can say that, and the first well was very deep that one could not see his own reflection into it. So, it was not possible for the poet or somebody else to see his reflection into the first well that has been described here by the poet. The tune of the poem, dear students, is here nostalgic. That means the poet remembers his past here. Dear students, the poet also remembers another well. So the second well that the poet has remembered in this poem is that recording that very well, according to poet, that it was not so deep. So the depth of the second well was not so deep. It was, we can say, under a dry stone ditch, and it was used as an aquarium. Okay. He recollects his memories how he used to take out long roots from the soft mulch. Mulch means a soft mud, we can say that. And he also sees his face reflected in it. So in the second well, the poet could easily see his own reflection, and the second well was not so deep, and the poet could easily take out the long roots of the plants from that very from the second well, from the mulch of the second well. Dear students, the poet has also described another, we can say, some other wells as well, and those wells had the echoes. That means the sound was coming back when the poet makes a sound. In those very wells, the sound comes back, so they had echoes. Whenever the poet calls into them, his call would be heard back with a clear music in it. And the poet felt very much enjoyed by that very echo produced by some other wells. The third well, or we can say one of the well that has been described by the poet in this poem is that we can say that was scary one. यानी एक ऐसे कुएं की भी बात की है यहाँ पर शायर ने, पोइट ने, जिससे वो डरता था, या हम कह सकते हैं द थर्ड वेल इज स्कैरी फॉर द पोइट. वाई? बिकॉज आउट ऑफ द फर्नस एंड फॉक्सग्लोज, these ferns and foxgloves, they are the different kinds of plants growing inside the wells, हम कह सकते हैं. So because out of the furnace and foxgloves, a rat slaps across the poet's reflection. The third well the poet has described that was scary for the poet. The poet once frightened by a rat which ran across his reflection, as it suddenly leapt out of the furnace and tall foxgloves, as these furnace and foxgloves are growing inside the well. So third well that has been described in this poem by the poet was scary for the poet, because the rat comes out across the reflection of the poet. Okay, dear students, but we can say that the poem concludes, or the poem ends with the poet saying that things like watching down the wells, or going towards the wells, or taking these long roots of the plants from the wells, it does not now suit him in his adulthood. Or we can say, with the passage of time, the poet has grown into adulthood. His outlook on life has changed. Okay, dear students. Therefore, he has started now looking within himself and writing the poetry. Now, he does not see into the depths of the wells, but he has now started looking within himself and writing poetry. So he considers it watching the wells, watching their depth, going towards wells below his dignity. Okay. This means that he has stopped doing such activities. His poetic perceptions, dear students, have changed. Okay, he no longer now looks into the wells. He now writes poetry that makes the darkness echo and resound. So the darkness echo is now, we can say that, has become the basis of his poems. So because he has now become a mature person or matured one, so now he writes poetry to see himself. Uh, to see himself, now he writes adult poems, and he said the darkness echoing. So dear students, this was the summary about the poem, which is titled here as Personal Helicon for Micheal Langley, and the author of this poem was Seamus Heaney. I hope that you have got here the full detailed summary of this poem, and you are in a position now to answer or to analyze the questions at the end of this chapter. Inshallah, I will meet again with you people with next lecture regarding the poem. Thank you very much.